morning, Professor Alonso. Thank you for participating in this mock session of the Jean Monnet Network on EU-China relations to address your work on the Belt and Road Initiative and the EU connectivity strategy. It is a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
First of all, we would like to ask you, how could you describe the current situation in Central Asia?
Okay. The region is composed by these 5 former Soviet Union countries: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. It is located between China, Russia, India, Iran, Turkey. So it is located between the big empires of ancient times, but also the current superpowers. And another condition is that it is landlocked, or even double landlocked in the case of Uzbekistan, because no one of these countries has direct access to open seas. So this is why we say it is landlocked, and it is, this is one of the main obstacles or the main limits of this region, the lack of connectivity with open markets, with the global markets. They need to have access to another countries to put their products in the global markets. The revolution since the independence in 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, because these 5 countries were members of the Soviet Union. The revolution since their independence, it's something different depending from country to country. So one is the evolution of Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, and one is the evolution of Turkmenistan. We can say that the richest country is Kazakhstan, later Uzbekistan, then Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Tajikistan is the poorest country. Even though they have Tajikistan has many reserves of minerals, raw materials, generally speaking, and also Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, they have the sources of fresh water for the entire region. In the other hand, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, and Kazakhstan, they are rich in oil, gas, hydrocarbons, energy resources. Anyway, from the political perspective, from the political point of view, again, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, they are the most developed countries because they made a kind of transition towards some model of democracy. So they are more similar to our democracies than other countries in the region. I'm talking about, neighboring countries like Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and so forth. And their main problems, of course, it is corruption. They are corruption. This is endemic, not only in this region, but also in the former Soviet Union countries. Lack of regional connectivity, this is one of the main problems, really main problems of this region, because not only each country, they don't have access to global markets, but there is also a lack of regional connectivity, intra-regional connectivity between the capitals of the 5 Central Asian countries. And also another problem is water management. The hydric stress in this region is very high. And talking about security, the 2 main problems, and they are interconnected also, it is Islamism, the rise of Islamism again in this region, and the situation in Afghanistan. For 20 years, it was more or less stable, more or less controlled by the US-supported Afghan government. But once the Taliban got the power, the situation in Afghanistan became uncontrolled, and again became Afghanistan a bed for terrorists.
Could you describe the main drivers and factors of Asia Connectivity Strategy 2008 and the new EU strategy to Central Asia of 2019?
On the point of view from the side of the European Union, they composed or they prepared two strategies related to Central Asia. First of all, the EU-Asia Connectivity Strategy 2018 and the new EU strategy Central Asia approved in 2019. The last new EU strategy for Central Asia. It is not new, of course, but it is a remake of the 2007 strategy for Central Asia, but it is a renewed version of this EU strategy, and of course it is improved. Anyway, the EU-Asia connectivity, the main goal of this EU-Asia connectivity strategy is sustainable, comprehensive, and rules-based connectivity in the faith that it will contribute to the enhanced prosperity, safety, and resilience of people and societies in Europe and Asia. So the main goal is to connect people, not only business, not only companies, not only infrastructures, but also people, to connect people in Asia and in Europe. The main drivers and factors of this Asia connectivity are transport, energy, digital, and human dimension. Transport, of course, diversified trade and travel routes, linking existing and future transport networks. Energy, they want to improve and to do a more interconnected regional energy platforms. And talking about digital, they want to increase access to digital services there in those Asian countries. And when we say Asian countries, we have to take into account that we are talking about Japan, South Korea, but also India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, all of them, not only China. And human dimension, the advanced cooperation in education, research, innovation, culture, tourism, so people-to-people connection. And the main goal of the new EU strategy for Central Asia, adopted in Bishkek in 2019, July 2019, this strategy is focused on resilience, covering areas such as human rights, border security, and the environment, for instance, and focus also on prosperity, with a strong emphasis on connectivity, as I said before, and of course, on regional cooperation. 1 week ago, I had the opportunity to share a seminar with the ambassador, with the EU Special Representative for Central Asia here in Madrid. And she said that her two main priorities for this region are security and connectivity. This security is, not only the narrow perspective on security, but the wide security, which means human rights, the promotion of democracy, and of course, these problems, how to manage these kind of problems like Islamism, corruption, border security, and so on. So the joint communication of the European Union talking about this strategy on Central Asia aims to forge a stronger, modern, and very important non-exclusive partnership. The former EU representative for Central Asia, Peter Borian, insisted many times in this point. We want to establish a non-exclusive partnership, which means that, of course, Central Asian countries, they are independent, we are autonomous, so they can establish relationships with whoever, with whatever partner, a country, and so on and so forth. And of course, we European countries, the European Union, we are here in this region not to take advantage of our position and to abuse our position, but we are going to establish an equal partnership. I mean, we are going to go work together. We are going to take into consideration that with respect with these countries, we are not like superior to them. And of course, they can do whatever they want with their foreign relations with other countries. I mean, or that means that this non-exclusive partnership means that, of course, we can sign agreements in the field, for instance, of energy, but Kazakhstan, for instance, they can sign another agreements with another countries like China or Russia in the same field. So we want to develop a sustainable, more resilient, prosperous, and closely interconnected economic and political space between Central Asia and the European Union. And the main drivers and factors of this new EU strategy for Central Asia are these three key elements: partnering for resilience, which means we want a stronger democracy and a stronger state in the Central Asian countries. Partnering for prosperity, so the main goal of our connection, of our cooperation, is this prosperity of these countries, because we want a stable neighborhood for us, and the main, or the maybe the best way to get this stable neighborhood is this prosperity for them, and also this working better together. I mean, in a quality of equal partners. And as I said before, the main priorities of this ambassador, Terry Hakala, is the security and the connectivity of this region.
And finally, do you believe that they are compatible with the Belt and Road Initiative?
Okay, the main purpose of this Belt and Road Initiative, which is Chinese, by the way, it was presented for the first time in Kazakhstan in 2013 by the Chinese President Xi Jinping. The main goal or the main purpose is to link the European market with the Chinese factories. So to put or to move the Chinese products from the eastern part of China to the western part of European continent. No? So move products, Chinese products, from China to European market. The Chinese New Silk Road is building infrastructures, mainly roads and railroads, helping to break the endemic problem of lack of connectivity, I mean the isolation of Central Asia. The main problem of this BRI, this Belt and Road Initiative, is the debt trap. So while the European Union is helping and funding some social projects, China is investing in the region in infrastructures, not only roads and railroads, but also pipelines and energy infrastructures like hydropower plants and so on, or to regasify the liquefied gas, no? For instance, platforms. If they cannot pay the works, if these countries cannot pay the infrastructure works, the Chinese company will manage the infrastructure. We have seen this in Sri Lanka, for instance, in some parts also of Pakistan. And once these countries, they cannot pay, China or the Chinese companies, they are going to manage the infrastructure, and maybe sometimes it is affecting the sovereignty of these countries, the lack of capacity to rule their own country, to decide in these parts of other countries. Besides, the Chinese influence in that region is growing and growing, and the limit for this Chinese influence is Russia. It is clear, because these Central Asian countries, they are part of the Russian backyard. They were members of the Soviet Union. They were republics of the Federation of the Soviet Union. And the evolution of the war in Ukraine will show us how much China is going to respect this Russian influence in the region, because up to date, Russia has shown that they cannot pay attention to two battlefronts. For instance, they cannot provide security in the Caucasus, in the southern Caucasus, so they cannot provide security to Armenia in Nagorno-Karabakh. because they are focused on the Ukrainian battlefront. So also here they have, in this region, in Central Asia, they have the same worry about the security. So if they cannot pay attention to us, if they cannot focus on our security, maybe we need more Chinese influence, we need the Chinese protection, and of course, from the Chinese perspective, if Russia cannot pay attention to what is happening in here in Central Asia, maybe we can improve, we can increase our influence there.
Thank you very much, Professor Alonso, for your time and for all your very interesting insights on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.